sit down that she had with Katie Miller. Now, it is to note that this interview was actually filmed way before that, Trump accounts event and way before the entire gold card situation, because I've kind of been seeing interesting narratives about how people are trying to spin it and say that she's backtracking on what she said because she realized that the Trump card is not valid and all of these things. In fact, this was actually filmed way before that event. That having been clarified, let us move on to the contents of the interview. So first of all, she took her time to clarify that in fact the narrative that she is against a certain community is actually not true, because she never said anything like that. And I mean, I've been saying it on this channel that Nicki actually never said anything about that. And I do feel like people intentionally took that out of context, as they always do. And I do feel like these people know exactly what they're doing, because despite the full interview and the full context being there on what she was talking about and how clearly she was referring to people that are not above the reasonable age to be allowed to make any alterations to their bodies, they still decided to run with that narrative. And I do feel like it's a very calculated pretense of being daft, or a calculated, move to try and misinterpret everything she says so that they can misinterpret her and misquote her into silence. It is a silencing tactic where they do not want her to say anything. Hence, they intentionally choose to act like they don't understand what she's saying, with hopes that, with time she's going to be scared to speak up. It's a silencing tactic. The more I'm looking at it, the more I'm beginning to understand, because I used to really always wonder why people would do that. Like, the full interview would actually be there, they still choose to take her out of context. They still choose to post and mass report wrong information, clipped information. And I used to wonder why people never make the effort to go out there and find out for themselves the full context of those clips. But now I'm realizing that actually no, they're not slow. That's intentional. They are hoping that if they continue doing that and dogpiling her and not caring to cover the context of what she was saying, she will stop speaking. It is a silencing tactic. And now I'm beginning to also understand, when you guys were telling me on this channel that, Nicki doesn't need to stop speaking, I'm realizing that you guys were actually very right, because at some point I would feel so bad about how they would treat her and how they would misinterpret her and how they would, just sensationalize everything in a negative way, everything that she says, even those sensitive issues. So out of hurt and out of wanting so bad for her to not be misquoted, I'm one of those people who would say, I feel like in this instance, she should have kept quiet. But now I'm beginning to notice that actually, no, she doesn't need to keep quiet, because that's exactly what they want. They are intentionally doing that. And she's not silly. Don't think that when she says things like this, she doesn't know that this is how they're probably going to try and twist her words and all of these things. She actually knows what she's doing. And by continuing to speak, even when they do misinterpret her words intentionally, by continuously saying, don't lemon, stop, see Saka. That's her trying to make it known that, listen, no amount of trying to misquote me is going to change that. How is C Saka different from somebody that says you're a D rider? It's literally the same thing. The concept of behind leaking, it's the same concept. So of course, when they do come out here in 2026 and act like C Saka has changed its meaning over the years, it's actually really pathetic at this point. And so this is me accepting that, yeah, my view there was probably not the smartest view, of sometimes suggesting that, sometimes she needs to not just say anything because these people are always going to twist her words. You guys were right, and she knows what she's doing. That's why she's continuously speaking up, because she knows that it's a voice that they are scared of, and all these smear campaigns are to force her into silence. But that being said, she did clarify about that situation, and she also did say that, listen, I have absolutely no problem with what people do, and in fact, I have been advocating for that community for a very long period of time, and a lot of babs really do know that she was one of the first allies, in as far as the rap music is concerned, because there was a time when people in hip hop used to look at that community in a certain way, but she's one of the few people who would stand up with her fans and embrace everyone equally the same. And so to try and paint her into this monster is actually ridiculous. And I've kind of been seeing them trying to shame some of her fans, from this community, trying to say that, oh, you're daft if you still support her, you're dense if you support her, she doesn't even like you. But people who have been her fans from the beginning actually do know that, no, you guys are taking things out of context. And I'm really happy that she came out there and she clarified that she was addressing New Scum because of what he had said, that, he would like to see kids transitioning and stuff like that. So I was really glad that she addressed that. Speaking of New Scum, she also took her time to address why she has issues with this man. And exactly as we were speculating, It seems like her issue stems from the fact that when she was in danger, she reached out to the governor for help, and the governor acted like he's not seeing anything, only for him to later on insert himself in female rap related issues. So that rubbed her the wrong way. And I mean, if even as a governor, you're putting your alliances with the people in the entertainment industry more than the work that you're required or the work of your office, then is that not insane? Because at the end of the day, no matter which party you belong to, I do feel like when you're in office, you serve the people. You don't serve only people of the party that you belong to. So I understand the frustrations with that. And, personally, if that's how she felt, if that party was treating her like this, who am I to try and dictate to her that she should look out for the people who do not have her best interest at heart? And at the end of this video, we're going to talk about Jasmine Crooked, okay? Because this is going to show you exactly the hypocrisy that is within certain political parties and how people play blind to something that's very out there in the open. Another situation that she also spoke about in this interview is how she actually had a one-on-one call with the president, and this shows you that as her fans, she hasn't forgotten about you. Like, they want you to believe she hasn't forgotten about you. They want to force the Babs to say cancel Nicki Minaj and all of these things because they realize that as long as she has the Babs, she's indestructible. Like, they cannot do anything about her or her career. So their goal right now is to turn even her co-fans against her. That's why you saw that they ended up recruiting the likes of T.S. Madison and all of these things, especially people that are tied to her, so that they can influence the rest of the world to say, if people that are close to her are turning on her, then who are you to stick by her side? And that's the reason why they're obsessed with the people that are close to her. So she took the time to say that, well, I had to have a conversation with the president because there are certain things that I've seen in the media and, about his beliefs regarding certain things. And so, she asked them about different communities, from orientation to religion to different things, really. And according to her, the president answered her not in a politically correct way, but in an authentic way about, how he feels about all of these subjects. And only after she got where the president was coming from, that's when she was like, okay, if this is what you stand on, then I can confidently come out here and, express my support to you, because at the end of the day, after all has been said and done, the most important people to me are my fans, and I have to consider them before I do anything. And honestly, I don't know what amount of integrity do you guys want from someone. A lot of celebrities that I know out there, they wouldn't have taken their time to even ask what's going on, like, what do you support, what do you not support. And I promise you, a lot of those celebrities that you see coming out and performing and doing all of these things for the Democratic Party, they wouldn't bother. They probably never bother to go and ask more about the different policies. They probably don't even understand anything, except that the entertainment industry is full of Democrats, and that's their protection, and they need to perform so that they can be welcomed into the circle of the elite in as far as entertainment is concerned. So her doing this really, for me, just shows me the amount of integrity that she has as a human being. And to see everybody labeling her as a sellout because she has decided to think and actually do thorough investigation, it's for herself before making decisions, is insane. Because what are you saying? You want people to be daft. You don't want people to ask questions. Each time people don't want you to ask questions, you're either in a halt or you're being manipulated. Because if something is not a halt, there shouldn't be an issue with people wanting answers and people asking questions. And the way to correct people would be in love, not to shame them just because they don't align with your own beliefs. So I really truly loved that interaction with Katie Miller. I will say that some of the questions, however, did come off as a little bit too personal, in my own opinion. And I do believe she's someone in a place where she knows that a lot of people are out to get her, to silence her. So she wasn't really open when it comes to other personal questions, for example, her routines and all of these things, because she knows that these people are watching her, and every little information they can get about her routines or her personal life, they're gonna come for her. This is a woman who got swatted. This is a woman whose dressing room got pew-pewed literally, which means that these people had information about which one she was using as a changing room, and also which side allegedly she had just previously been on that side or something like that, and then she changed or something happened last minute that saved her from that thing. So which means whoever had orchestrated that attempt had inside tea. So I honestly understand her not wanting to answer certain questions. But then again, as always, her interviews are watchable because, she really does speak some sense. And it was a beautiful interview. If you haven't watched it, please go ahead and watch it. The lady, however, that was interviewing her, I'm not sure about her interviewing skills. Okay, let's move on to the next thing that we're going to be talking about. Let us talk about TMZ. TMZ, clearly, at this point, I I'm at a loss because it's like day in, day out, they've got like 5 or 6 Nicki Minaj posts. The same with the neighborhood talk, the same with the shade room, and they still believe that this woman is cancelled. And for people who have, manipulated the media for a long time, for people who have benefited from spinning narratives on people and smear campaigns and all of these things, I'm beginning to doubt what's going on because they should be the master of this game. They should know how you cancel someone. And how they're moving right now is far from that. You do not cancel someone this way. You cannot be saying or screaming that you're canceling someone and then you post them 6 or 7 times a day. It defeats the purpose. But then again, I do know that desperation clouds judgment. If there are two things that will cloud your judgment, intense hate, intense desperation, trust me, those things will take out all the logic from you. Never make decisions when you're panicking. Never make decisions when you're desperate. Never make important decisions when you have intense feelings of hate for another person because those things will not allow you to act strategically nor logically. Your judgment will be very cloudy. And I do believe this is the situation with the media, especially urban media. They don't know what to do with this woman anymore. The strategies that have worked with other celebrities, it's not working anymore. And now they're just throwing anything, hoping something would stick. But they don't realize that the more they're trying to force an H train, the more they're trying to force smear campaigns, the more people are beginning to see the light. And the more attention they are paying to her, the more people are realizing that there should be something important about this girl. Why is it out of all the celebrities that support the current administration, they are coming in hard for her? There's something about her. The amount of people that I've been seeing on Twitter who have been saying, you know what, I've never cared for female rap, I've never cared for Nicki Minaj, but there's definitely something going on with all these publications and how the Democratic Party is so bothered by her, being affiliated with the other party. What is it about her? And the more they pay attention to who she is, and if they accidentally ever come across her speaking, I promise you, everybody who actually intentionally goes and look for an interview when Nicki Minaj is speaking, or if people really do visit her Twitter and follow, like with logic, what she's saying, those people will leave that page with changed minds and they are not understanding it. For example, the Katie Miller podcast, them consistently posting snippets and clips of those narratives is not going to help their cause. It's not going to make the cancellation stick. The desperation is costing them because day in, day out, Nicki Minaj this, Nicki Minaj that. And the next thing, people are going to be like, let's see how ridiculous she is. And the more as soon as you click on the Katie Miller podcast, you will see that whatever narrative they're painting there is not the same. Anyone with brains will want to see the full interview and see what this girl is talking about. Except, of course, the daft people will say, oh, we don't want to hear anything about her. Those dafties are beyond being saved, obviously. Those ones are. But yeah, this type of these moves that they're making, I'm shocked actually. I'm surprised that people who have been in media for a long time are doing something like this in the hopes that it would stick. I'm surprised. And as if that's not enough, TMZ is still reaching out to the Babs. I saw another Bab posting that they reached out to them saying that, well, we want to ask you some questions. At this point, it seems like they're meeting whoever and asking them about Nicki Minaj. At this point, this is becoming the Nicki Minaj. It's not only her internet, but she owns these these publications. She's owning these media platforms because the obsession is becoming more and more. And the more and more they're trying this, the more people are beginning to realize this is borderline harassment. What's going on? Because what do you mean you're looking for Babs to ask questions about her? About what? What questions do you want to ask? The Babs told you, and they're especially reaching out to the Babs that belong to that community that we were just talking about, hoping that they would switch on Nicki Minaj. But those Babs are not daft. They've realized that actually their emotions, their feelings are being weaponized by some Democrats, taking everything out of control so that their rage can be used as a talking point by the Democrats for their own benefit, okay? But anyway, let me know in the comment section, you guys, what you think about that. How do you think this is going to end? Do you think that they're going to be able to successfully cancel her? Or like me, do you believe that the more they're doing this, the more they're giving the woman popularity? That being said, let's move on to another obsessed person, Jasmine Crooked. Crooked in all ways. Not just a weave, but everything about her is crooked, according to... These are my sentiments, obviously, because any woman who boldly comes and contradicts themselves like this cannot be trusted. Like, this woman was asked about Nicki Minaj. She went off on Nicki Minaj, and I think this is like the second or third time she's going off on Nicki Minaj. She appears really angry, bothered by someone's political choice. I mean, if we were all not awarded the right to make our own choices and decisions, then what's the point of everyone being allowed to vote? If the Democrats owned a monopoly over black votes, why do the black people need to vote? Why won't they just say, okay, every percentage of the total number of black people, they are Democrat by default. There wouldn't be any need to vote. But the fact that everybody, whether black or white, is being given the opportunity to vote means that they still, there is a possibility that someone may not want to vote for the other side. So when you try to force someone to say just because you're like this, you should vote Democrat is insane to me. It defeats the whole ideology of democracy. It tarnishes the party and what it stands for. And the way they are moving at this point, I am not even confident that we're going to be able to get rid of the orange man. At this point, I don't know, because it seems like misplaced priorities all over the place. Misplaced priorities. Standing for nothing. How do you call yourself a Democrat and the first thing that comes out of your mouth is screaming dictator, dictator? Insulting someone because they have done. There's nothing democratic about that. There's nothing intelligent, in fact, about that. When you start to insult somebody and you claim that I don't like them because they are sellout because they chose a different political party, which is not us, the Democrats. Do you realize how ridiculous that sounds? Imagine, I stand for democracy. Everyone should have the right to do what they want, to choose what they want. That's the core. It's even in the name. And then you turn around and you're doing the opposite. Why are you destroying the party? And the fact that even those people that are not in entertainment are allowing this to happen just shows you that the peace of the party lost. And whenever you see political parties getting way too entangled with entertainment, and when their whole campaign becomes centered on influence from entertainers, rather than them telling the people about policy, everything becomes questionable. Everything becomes questionable. Really. The cause is lost, the cause is gone, and it's so sad that other people, from the actual political party are not able to see that, if anything, this is destroying the party. It's not you're going against everything that you claim to stand for. And for other black people that don't see this and that continue to scream that she's a sellout, unfortunately, for people who have that mentality, I don't think that you guys are redeemable at this point. I don't even think you probably understand what you're saying, because if there is a way to win someone, you win them with love. Instead of screaming sellout, instead of screaming, oh my God, I've always hated her, instead of saying things like that, why won't you just calmly educate her on why choosing your party is the best thing? That's what anyone with any form of intellectual capacity would do. Insulting someone is not going to make them listen to you. Once you lead your explanations with an insult, no one is going to pay attention to you. She's not going to pay attention. You don't attack people to make your point understood. You cannot attack information into people. It's not a thing. It doesn't happen. That's why your teachers are not shouting information into your system at school. They explain it to you with civilization. Once you start shouting at people in order for them to get your point, maybe you don't have a point to begin with. Because if you had a point, if you had actual points to say, this is what we're saying, you wouldn't need to shout. If you had really a counter argument to what she's saying on her platform, if you do have counter arguments, you wouldn't need to just shout, sell out. And as a person who understands dictatorship, let me tell you this. Dictatorship doesn't come with a color. And this is the truth that you guys don't want to know. It's something that you guys don't want to understand. It does not come with a specific R word. It doesn't. Because if you guys didn't know, even Africa has had some well-known dictators. And these are people that look like us. Do you understand? So just because someone is of a specific R word doesn't absolve them of dictatorship tendencies. Just if you want to see what I'm talking about, look at how the community, the black women, are treating this woman. And somehow you think that this is aspirational, the way you're talking about her. And this lady, Jasmine Crooked, actually admitted, I've always loved Advovo BBL better than her. She's no Rihanna. She's no Beyonce. She's no this person. So clearly you've never liked her from the beginning. So if you don't like her, if you as a community, if you're speaking for the black community, if you're admitting that as a collective you never liked her, why are you calling her a sellout? I mean, the self contradiction is ridiculous. Because if you're admitting that you've never ever liked her as a collective, as a community, so how can you label her a sellout when you ever embraced that to begin with? She's never been a part of you. That's what you're trying to say. You've never looked at her as part of the other girls that have done the same amount of work. You have never looked at her as a part of the community, the entertainment community that she belongs to. And this was way before the Trump situation. You're admitting that you never liked her. That's what you're saying, right? So how can you then say she's a sellout? How can you then say that someone you have clearly alienated owes you any form of loyalty? Make it make sense, crooked. Like, make it make sense. So you can treat her anyhow. You can tell her you can reduce her work to nothing. That's what she was doing there. She was reducing this woman's work and impact to nothing. And then in the same breath say that she's a sellout. I mean, you guys can belong to any political party, but if you cannot see how wrong this is and how contradictory this is, I'm sorry. And then as a comeback, do you know what she said? She said, I've always preferred Advovo BBL. And they say this thinking that it's gag-worthy. No, it's not. If I were Advovo BBL, nothing about this would be flattering to me. Because why do you only bring me up as a jab at this woman? Like, why? And the fact that she's bringing up Advovo BBL and saying I've always preferred her when there are a lot of other female rappers is interesting to me. And if the other female rappers are not cloaking that this woman was brought in as a plant to get under Nicki Minaj's skin, if the other female rappers don't get offended by how their existence gets ignored, and only this woman who clearly calls you roaches and stuff, she's the one that's being uplifted. You guys, this is a joke. This is literally a joke. And for me, it's just ridiculous to watch this happening because you cannot tell me that a black woman was standing there and basically saying that she dislikes another black woman. She's always disliked her. And now she understands because now she's supporting Trump. You're justifying your jealousy and hatred for a woman who did absolutely nothing to you by a decision that she made in 2026 when you're admitting that way before 2026, you hated her enough that you would rather embrace somebody that calls you a roach. And as a society, you're still wondering why things don't seem to be moving. It's this sheep mentality. It's this vileness. It's this selfishness. If you think Nicki Minaj is selfish for making that political decision, what this lady right here, Jasmine, is doing should tell you that nobody is selfless at all. Because don't think she's doing this just because she's advocating for immigrants and all of this thing. No, she's doing this to further her own political career. It's about her career right now. If she were to get a position and become a Republican and she would get a higher, better, career out of being a Republican, trust me, she would be switching, jumping. I know people like this. I do know people like this. It's not to, don't get flattered, don't get flattered and think that this has anything to do with him. No. This has everything to do with her own political career. But anyway, that's interesting for me. And as for Advovo BBL, I hope she doesn't look at this as something that's that's flattering because at this point we might as well call her a substitute B. Yeah, I think I'm gonna start calling her Subby B because they always bring her in as a substitute for Nicki Minaj, as them trying to say as a gotcha moment for Nicki Minaj. And I wouldn't want to live my life in the shadows of another woman. But then seeing how much she has morphed into a Timo version of Nicki Minaj, she probably enjoys it. Because the obsession is not only coming from the people, it's also coming from her personally. Because she has decided to morph and transform her face into a mini Nicki Minaj, the people really do think that if they bring her up to get back at Nicki Minaj, it's going to make her happy. But seeing how slow she is, Sabi B is probably celebrating because she's being brought up as a jab at another woman. But that being said, you guys, I thought I would go further with this, but oh my god, we are at 30 minutes and I don't think that I can continue without boring you guys. So let's catch up and let's cover some of the things that I wanted to talk about in another video. But that being said, this has been fun. I love talking. My god, I really do need to start a podcast because I could never get tired of talking. I just blabber. I just talk. Chose the wrong career. Picked the wrong career because I love to talk, man. But anyway, that being said, thank you very much, you guys, for watching. And thank you very much for making it this far. If you have not already, what are you waiting for? Please smash that subscribe button and